Greetings from World Headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. I hope you all are well. I wanted to change things up and send a video letter as opposed to an email, just so a little bit easier for folks perhaps to take in, and just a little bit of a change of pace. I thought, not that anybody is panicked or is expressing any frustration to us about what's going on in the markets. We have had a rather dramatic sequence of events in the past 2 months in the markets, and I thought it was appropriate to send out a note just to give you a couple thoughts about what's going on, and just to allay any concerns. Not that you would have any, but just in case there might be any. I have some notes. This is not some big, massively edited video production. I want it to be a little more just kind of free, flowing. Things around the office are very normal. Keeping our finger on the pulse of the markets on a daily basis as per normal, but nothing is unusual or being done differently than has been done in the past. I think what makes the current situation particularly difficult is that a lot of things that are burdensome individually are happening collectively. So, for example, we have interest rates that are rising, we have inflation that's rising, prices at the gas pump are rising, stock markets are decreasing in value, war has broke out in Europe. So just a lot of things that are very unsettling individually are happening collectively at the same time, and that makes for a lot of uncertainty. And as we know, uncertainty is what breeds a lot of anxious or anxiety, panic, those types of feelings. So, as I've written to you before, I think what's important in these kind of situations or circumstances, environments like these, is, as with all environments, is you have to control what you can control. And everyone who's a client of the firm has been advised, and most people have an emergency fund, an estate plan, they have an executable budget, they have proper insurance to cover very expensive risks, and they all have a long-term focus on the stock market. So those are things that we can control. We can't control what the market does on any given day, week, or what have you. But what we can control is our emotions, or at least to the point, our reactions to what happens in the stock market. And that's kind of the key, is you don't want to be reactive. You want to be proactive, have an investment allocation that you're going to stick through both times like last year when markets were increasing in value quite a bit, and then times like this year when markets are decreasing in value quite substantially. So that's I think what is important. When you watch the news, and in my last letter I said a couple words about media outlets, you may hear a lot of people who are trying to explain what's happening now as being predictable before. I would caution you against investing a lot in what those types of individuals are saying, because it doesn't take a lot to look at the current situation and then rewind the tape and say, back then we knew that this was going to happen. That's tough to do, that's very easy to do. What's tough to do is try to predict where things are going to go from here into the future. So, like, if you just rewind back into December of 2019, January of 2020. I don't know of any single individual who picked or foresaw a pandemic, the PPP program, a vaccine, war in the Ukraine, and then today, McDonald's exiting Russia after being there for a large number of years. I think it's over 30 years that they were there. Perhaps it's longer. No one, or very, very few people, predicted that sequence of events. I would say it's probably nobody. So trying to predict where we're going in from here into the future, of course, is very difficult. So because we can't do that, that's why we have investment allocations that we stick to, and we adhere to those rigidly so that we can enjoy the good times and also ride out the bad times that we're experiencing now. And I'll leave you with two final thoughts. Number one is that mankind, and especially Americans and American business, very, very, very adaptable to changing circumstances. So I would caution anyone who's going to draw a straight line in perpetuity, that the current conditions as they exist today are going to continue in perpetuity. That we know is very, very likely not to happen. Circumstances change, people, businesses adapt, and then new things or new circumstances will present themselves in the future. I'm not saying they're going to be better, I'm saying they're going to be different than they are today. Secondly, anyone who reads anything that I have ever sent out or has spoken to me about my views on investments or money in general knows that a lot of my investment principles that I hold dear are guided almost wholly and entirely by Warren Buffett's philosophy. And the guiding principle he uses for investing in stocks, portions of businesses, is to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy when others are fearful. So when markets are rising, it's very easy to sit back and say, man, this is the easiest thing that's ever happened. Okay, but when times are difficult like they are now, okay, the other part of that you have to adhere to in that viewpoint is to be greedy when others are fearful. Right now, if I had to gauge a lot of what's going on in media, and perhaps just some of the side conversations that I've had anecdotally, is fear is probably more prevalent than euphoria in today's, at least, stock market environment. Now, that is not in any way any sort of a go signal to go and buy stocks indiscriminately. However, I think what's important is that almost everyone for whom I manage money professionally has a very healthy offering of equity stock investments. So I would encourage you to stick with those, and we will continue to have large equity investments in the portfolios that we manage. And I just encourage you to stay the course through those, because situations are going to be different going forward. And in the very, very long term, I don't think anything that's happening today is putting a dent in the long-term viability of both the American and global economy. So that's it. Just wanted to give you a couple of thoughts as we go through I think it was going to be our 8th week of rather difficult markets. But like I said, keep a positive mental attitude, and realize that better days lie ahead.